Welcome to Lab Life with the Air Force Research Laboratory.
Hi, I'm Michelle.
And I'm Kenneth. Hello, folks. Today we are discussing the importance of AFRL's connection to the National Security Innovation Network, many of its programs, and how one of them relates to the Avengers.
In 3, 2, 1.
Today we're joined by Dr. Robert Thomas, the Technical Advisor for the BioFX Division, and Paula Lemke, the AFRL NSIN Liaisons. Welcome to you both.
Hey, good morning, Kenneth.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
So folks may have heard something unique there, NSIN. Starting with you, Paula, can you tell us what NSIN is and what it means to be a liaison for it?
So NSIN is an acronym because, again, it wouldn't be a DoD program without an acronym. So it's the National Security Innovation Network. It is a congressionally authorized DoD program office in the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering. As the liaisons for AFRL and NSIN, I work to bring collaboration between AFRL and academia and entrepreneur innovators. So we try to make things work to answer the call or the challenges that the AFRL lab has in new ways, in new novel ways to hopefully help make AFRL researchers' lives better and hopefully help move the needle a little faster.
Fascinating. So it really is cool to hear that you're doing some real hard-hitting innovation and connections to really make the AFRL mission, a lot more possible, what it sounds like.
Yes. So, the goal is to take things that are outside the gate and bring it inside the gate. Whether NSIN also will help develop those entrepreneurs' technology. And one of the great ways to do that is to have the DoD kind of supporting them and telling them exactly what they need. Because a lot of times on the commercial side, people think they know what the warfighter needs, but sometimes we miss that mark unless we have the end user actually being a part of it in the beginning and saying, hey, we need it to actually fit in this specific location and it needs to weigh a specific amount. And, those kinds of things that if you aren't a part of the actual unit, you might not know what it is that they need. So, it helps make those connections so that when the commercial side is actually making things for the DoD, that at the end, it's actually something that they can use.
Fascinating. It is really cool to think about, and many folks may not have considered of having, you almost said, or put it best, the right decision makers all in the room together. So people know step by step what we need and how we can make that possible. And like you'd mentioned, making it easier to get, in and out of the fence so there's a much cleaner connection. So that's, NSIN, it sounds pretty critical. And many folks, again, the fact they may not have heard of this, I think it's critical that we help send this message out. That's huge.
Yeah, and it's not just us supporting NSIN's developers, but NSIN then also helps support our researchers by providing them with tools that make it easier for them to get specific talent that they need or tools and just connections with universities and those entrepreneurs.
Fantastic. And before we move ahead on some of these programs, really what NSIN is providing AFRL and vice versa, I want to go over to Dr. Thomas and touch on how did you become the part of this BioFX team? And as we said at the top here, I'm an advisor for it. So kind of walk us through that journey and what it looked like.
Yeah, I think like many researchers in AFRL, I joined the lab in 1994 as a postdoc under one of our kind of STEM programs. Was with the lab in that role for a couple of years, stayed in the lab as a contractor for a short time, and then in 2002 became DoD civilian scientist. And so in that time, I've held many roles in the BioFX division, learned a good deal about all of the areas of our research. And in 2018, after a short rotation as the deputy chief scientist for the Human Performance Wing, was selected as the technical advisor for the division when it was competed. So, a long time role with a good deal of experience in multiple areas of research here, I think led to that selection. And of course, now to almost 25 years of experience.
That's fantastic. So you really have a great purview of the lab and obviously have the expertise to be connecting here and talking about what NSIN and what these kind of programs can do for you. So we appreciate that and hearing that career journey of yours. And that kind of brings to mind then, with all the expertise you have in these incredible minds, we have to imagine that NSIN is able to help these people out. So we want to kind of dive into some of those specific programs and how these are able to help out these researchers. So starting with Paula, we'll go ahead and talk about what are some of these programs, and we'll flip back to you, Dr. Thomas, and talk about how they've helped.
So NSIN has several programs. Some of them are geared towards more of the startup and entrepreneur side. But as the AFRL NSIN liaisons, obviously, I focus on what are the programs that are quick wins for AFRL. And so one of those is the experts program. And the experts program is when someone gives me a call and says, hey, I have a problem or some kind of need. And a lot of times it's a specific researcher or one of those unique niche areas that maybe we can't fill a billet with because it's so unique that you don't know when you're going to use it again, right? So when that happens, someone will give me a call and we'll reach out to the program manager at NSIN who runs the experts program and let them know what it is we're looking for, what we need them to do, the question they need to help us answer. And this program is really cool because what it does is that program manager then goes out and does the research and finds 1 to 5 experts in that area. And what they'll do is they will say, we're going to meet once a week, once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks, kind of depends on everyone's calendar. And they will meet for 1 hour each time that they meet. And they will discuss the issues. And what NSIN's PM does is when they meet with that expert, they have them sign a volunteer service agreement, which is one of the really amazing factors of this, that they reach out and say, hey, are you willing to help your warfighter? We need your expertise, and can you help our researchers help our warfighters? And we have had 100%, absolutely, we would love to serve. And so they meet and they get to ask questions and they just get to pick their brains and hopefully fill in that gap that expert would serve if we had them full time. Usually they understand that they're a unique expert and that they can't, there's often, not even enough to fill all the jobs that are out across the country. So they understand too the need that we have for them, and they've been wonderful in helping to serve that. And that does not come out of AFRL's budget. That's one program that I really, really enjoy. And then, we also have intern programs. So X-Force is a summer program. It's 11 weeks. And currently right now, you can go to the NSIN's website. And if you would like to have a team, because that's one thing that NSIN does when they are paying for these interns to come and work with you for 11 weeks, they don't just do one intern, they do a team of interns. So it's anywhere from 1 to 5 students per topic, and you get them for 11 weeks over the summer. Not everyone is guaranteed a spot because they do pay for this. They're going to make sure it's someone who can answer your call. So you go on their website, and right now you can do that. It's open until December 17th. Submit a topic. They'll find students who actually have the ability to answer that call. If they don't find someone who can answer that call, they won't stick a body in there just to stick a body in there, but they will go out and try to find those students who have the ability to do that. And then you get them for 11 weeks over the summer. And again, that's at no cost to AFRL. So that's just manpower. So that's just a great opportunity that I think anyone who hears this, if you have a need for a student this summer or several students, please get in touch with me. And if you can't find the link, and I'll make sure you find that.
Well, taking a quick break here, that's fantastic. Like hearing about having access to, interns that can fill in much needed help on different teams, to having the experts program, which when you first mentioned it, really made me think of, the Avengers, like thinking about what Marvel film, like what heroes can be promoted here. Like, hey, do we need Ant-Man today? Someone else here. Like, it's amazing to think we can have access to this network.
It's helpful. It's helpful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'd love to go over to Dr. Thomas real quick, just to kind of hear, like, how have these programs or maybe others that we are going to list here affected you and your teams?
Yeah, so we have used the experts program now in 2 instances, and those have been different sort of use cases. One has been a case where we've had experience with a university member and we wish to pull them into an active team. Maybe we knew of them through a former senior scientist or visiting scientist kind of role, or maybe within an AFOSR program, and you wish to kind of transition that investment at the university into your own work, right? You want to bring their knowledge into the planning and development of your own S&T effort. And so in one instance, we've used experts in machine learning and related applied mathematics to launch an effort that we hope to become, an internal AFRL, standing program or task. And so, having that expert available to, in a formal way, have them be a team member, design some new work, help junior scientists within AFRL spin up and get this research going. It really not only informs that preliminary work, but also gives you, a solid foundation for proposing a more enduring kind of S&T program.
Absolutely. And I think that really helps contextualize for a lot of our listeners about why this is so important. It's great to hear about these programs, but knowing about these successes with you, Dr. Thomas, really bring that to light. So we want to go back to you then, Paul. Are there other programs that NSIN has the AFRL that people should know about?
Absolutely. Currently, right now, we are running a hire-a-thon for AFRL, specifically the Human Performance Wing. So that is basically, if you have 5 billets that are open and they have the ability to use the direct hire authority, which is all lab demo positions, then you meet with that program manager and you tell them what you're looking for specifically, if there's any specific universities or societies that you want them to reach out to. And what they do is they basically go out and headhunt for 4 to 6 weeks. And as they do, the resumes that they collect, they'll send to the people who are looking for it. And they can start reviewing them, they can start interviewing them, and they get to make the final decision. What it is NSIN will ask for feedback. They need to be able to provide information that what they're doing is effective and that it's bringing value to the DoD. So that's really what they need is feedback. And then you get to make all the decisions, though, and through their network, because NSIN has a really great working relationship with about 70 universities, but they actually have 20 universities, and that list is growing because they're actually in the process right now of hiring a few more, where they have personnel embedded in the universities. And so that makes for a great network, not only for the hire-a-thon, but for a lot of other collaborations between AFRL and different universities, and gives us the opportunity to look at leveraging their facilities and faculty members. And then, of course, students for different internships and things like that. But again, in this particular instance, you leverage that network to try to bring in talent.
And back to you, Dr. Thomas, has this kind of a hire-a-thon, or at least this connection with universities, affected your team?
Yeah, absolutely. In our division, we may have the need for, maybe 1 or 2 hires in a particular discipline, but AFRL as an aggregate, needs these emerging kind of high demand areas like, computer science, things where there's a good deal of competition. And having these hire-a-thons, we're able to bring attention to, a larger scale event, attract a larger number of talented individuals, and as a whole, AFRL, you'll have a pool of candidates that are high quality. At the same time, with that extra support in recruiting, advertising the event is, extremely useful. It's much more powerful than having a posting on an internet site somewhere. So it's been very helpful. We're hoping in this next one that's coming up in a week or two to get a new hire out of the program.
And I know you will. You guys are doing amazing stuff, so you're going to find the right person for you. So that's really cool. You can have that connection, as you mentioned, Paula, directly with these universities, with people embedded. I mean, that's not only a more intimate relationship, but they have a better understanding of exactly where these experts are, who's looking. So speaking of looking, do we have any other cool programs that are other ones we want to list that NSIN is doing with AFRL?
Absolutely. So one of the programs, it's a new program. It was a pilot in the spring, early summer, and it became an actual program of record. Is called the Maker Program. And the Maker Program is there to help people make specific prototypes. And one of the things that NSIN does is they provide, it comes in increments. And so based on your whatever it is that you're trying to make a prototype, which they will do software, actual technology, and processes, they have a $20,000 increment, a $60,000, and a $75,000 increment, where they will provide you with funds to develop a prototype, and they will also help you if you are lacking a special expert in making that happen. They will work to make sure that happens. And so the one criteria for that, though, is that it has to be something that has touched an NSIN program before. So whether you had students working it from an internship program or maybe a capstone, because NSIN will work with universities to provide capstones that are coming from the DoD, and they work with the students and provide the problem, and then those students work to find a solution, and then they get credit for it at the same time. So if it touched that, or if it was an experts as well, then it's touched an NSIN program, and then you can apply to the maker program, and like I said, up to $75,000 to get that prototype made.
Wow. And have those funds available. I mean, that is so critical for teams or people looking to help make whatever the prototype or whatever that dream may be. So with this maker program, how's it affected your teams, Dr. Thomas?
Yeah, so we've been able to take advantage of that for one of our junior force seedling research awards. In AFRL, there are a variety of opportunities for the junior staff to propose new initiatives in terms of research. And often, it's important that if it's a technology that AFRL maybe doesn't currently have, that they be able to reach out and get to or take advantage of folks in industry or academia that can fabricate their prototype and get them on their way. And maybe those initial research awards are minimal in terms of scale. Having this kind of program that can augment those those investments and create a prototype, having the expertise to aid them, it has been a great area for us. We've used Ohio State University. We're working on a fabrication of a nano fabrication device at the current time to help a CGO and a junior force member succeed in one of these seedling research efforts.
What a great way, though, to actually connect and find, like you said, these either truly one-of-a-kind ideas or unique ideas that AFRL needs to make that connection with. So that is a really cool avenue. And really, like you said, makers it possible, if you will. Rough pun there, but we'll roll with it. But I want to go back to you then, Paula. What other programs do we have to look forward to?
Okay, so there is, it's called the Technology National Security Fellowship. And so this is a 1-year internship program. And this intern is going to be a grad student or a postdoc. If they're a bachelor's, which will be very seldom, it would be someone who has extensive work experience. And then they actually embed with you for 1 year. And it will be a paid position. And it is also a temporary billet. So they will actually be a government civilian. That is important for researchers to know, because that just makes it easier for them. But so that's 1 year, and NSIN pays for that. So that is a program, again, a lot of these programs are made to make sure that we're getting the talent. But, the other thing that I like to say about bringing the talent in on these internship programs, whether it's the 11-week or the 1 year, is it also gives people an opportunity to kind of kick the tires before they buy the car, right? So if they have a position coming open, this is a great way to see, will this person work well with our team? Will they actually do what we need them to do? And so it's a great way to retain talent. And like I said, try it out before you make the commitment of a billet. So I think that's important too.
Absolutely. I mean, there's something to be said for that, not only team synergy, but finding the right fit. So having a program that gives people time to be comfortable and actually learn to work well together, not only makes sense, but seems essential, especially getting people in a much easier fashion, like you'd mentioned. So Dr. Thomas, has this affected your team in any way, or have you utilized this program?
Yeah, we actually are. We're bringing on a postdoc candidate that will begin soon in an area that we're working to emerge as a new focus for our group. Someone that has extensive expertise in that particular discipline, which is physics-informed machine learning approach for modeling and sim. And Paula has helped her through NSIN, has helped identify a great candidate for us. And as she said, right, important to evaluate someone you might add to the team in the long run. Sometimes it takes us a bit of time to secure a billet for the person. But also, here in San Antonio, there's data that indicates that, someone who does an internship has a much higher probability of staying with you in the long term. So if they are happy with the position through an internship or a postdoc, and you bring them on, it's something like more than 80% chance that they will be retained in the long run, where a cold call hire, someone hired from their resume and a brief interview, the retention rate is only about 50% in the longer run. So it's a great advantage to utilize these kind of programs for your emerging areas, for your strategy for hiring, and making sure, as you said, that you have the right fit, right? Someone that's happy with the team. Often that's much more important, or equally important, as the pay, to be happy with your work.
Wow. I mean, it makes sense, but especially hearing that research backing it up about that retainment, to actually find these people like where they not only need to be found, but we mentioned earlier, whether it's universities, specific teams, whatever. I mean, the fact that we can find a way to retain and make sure the right fit for the team. I mean, this is just a win-win. So,
many people out there, they don't understand that you don't have to join the Air Force, right? You're not going to be in uniform to be a researcher within AFRL. And they don't understand how important the mission is to our nation. And when they see that, it's a great place to work. The facilities are excellent. You're much more likely to retain them and have a strong contribution.
you hit it right in the head, Dr. Thomas. I think that is so important to point out, is that not only is it great to actually help fight for a mission even greater than yourself, but the idea that, I mean, I'm working in PA, so I do a lot of stuff with journalism. Many people forget that journalists work here for the Air Force or for AFRL. And like you'd mentioned, very specific researchers. So that's a great message to those, especially college level students looking to see what they could do here for the Air Force, the DoD, wherever they may be in the nation. So thank you. That is fantastic. So going back to you then, Paula, what other programs do we have with NSIN?
Well, there are a lot of other programs, and they have a lot of programs, like I said, that will help develop technology and small businesses to help get them to the point where they're ready to license and patent. And in that process, sometimes they'll ask some of the AFRL to come in and help judge or mentor. And so that's another way they partner. But they have lots of other programs, Propel, H4D. And again, these are all about trying to develop talent, technologies, and bring people from outside the fence into the fence. The H4D program is a program where you can have topics that will go out to universities, and they will have students who will actually do a whole semester, sometimes two, on trying to answer that call. But then AFRL will have to also provide a mentor to that university, to that team specifically, so that they can ask questions as they are developing their solutions. So another great way to get to know students and interns. And then potentially, that's the great thing with the NSIN programs. They're kind of like building blocks. And if you stack them just right, you can get yourself a really nice building or structure. When you take that and maybe start with the H4D, and maybe you make some connections with the students, and then you bring them in as interns, and then they can do another semester or two doing a capstone. Then maybe they end up getting their graduate degree, and they end up coming back in and doing a year-long fellowship. I mean, if you stack these programs right, you can get 2 or 3 years of manpower, and it's not going to cost you a dime. So, and then at the end of that, maybe you end up with a prototype. And so, that's the whole goal, is to get to that point where we're actually putting finished products into the hands of our warfighters.
I love that analogy, because it really does build something in my mind, almost like the Lego set. And let's say AFRL, like, we can go on both sides here. One is we're missing a piece that may not have come with it. We've all had that happen. And we find that missing piece. They click into place. We have a full picture. But on their side, as you mentioned, they have a blank slate that they can just begin building until that career has that beautiful capstone. hopefully career with us or find the right tools to give them the career they're seeking. So those building blocks are essential. So, and it really is cool to mention as well that there's so many programs, that there's so many different ways to interact with us through NSIN. So I want to go back to you then, Dr. Thomas, here with how many programs there are and really how much we have left. Are there any other major ones of note or any other points you want to make that your team's really benefited from this partnership?
Well, I'd also like to make the point that there are advantages for the participants that are not simply involvement in our research. For example, if you're a member of the experts program and you join a group meeting with senior scientists that may span across AFRL, AFOSR, you have the opportunity to interact with those program managers, senior scientists, and gain insight for your future research topics. Maybe you're interested in submitting a proposal to AFOSR. Maybe you'll learn more about all of the opportunities there are for visiting the lab as, say, a summer researcher, having your students come as postdocs or for the summer internships. So, I think there's a lot of information to be gained by those that may be interested in participating on the outside of AFRL. Should not underestimate the the advantage you gain by having a working understanding of the research that's going on, of the people, their interests, and where some of the S&T is going.
I can't put that better myself. That is beautifully said. And I think that really helps start to round things out here and kind of bring this all to a head. So now that we have a good idea of many of the programs that NSIN has in terms of connecting with AFRL, how it's affected your team, Dr. Thomas, the importance of the mission, and really what benefits these students have and interns, experts, whoever they may be, even outside of just the research. Starting with you, Paula, we've really talked about it, but I kind of want to hear in your own words, why is this a relationship so important? And why do you think AFRL really needs to keep this connection?
Everything that we read in here, we have to do things faster, right? And so, and a lot of times to do that, we need more manpower, we need more tools, but we don't necessarily always have the budget for such. So this kind of checks all those boxes, right? You get the manpower, you get the tools, and we're speeding up the process. So it just, and like Dr. Thomas said, it's also a win-win for the universities and these entrepreneurs who are trying to learn how it is that they can help the DoD, because for so long we've been stovepiped and we haven't gone outside the gates and we haven't shared any information, and the universities and these entrepreneurs are trying to figure out ways to develop things to help the warfighter, and they just didn't have enough information or even know what it is they should be focusing on. And like Dr. Thomas said, now they kind of get this through these programs, they get an insight as to what it is the DoD needs, the things that they're interested in, and the things that they can collaborate on, and look for those big successes.
And over to you, Dr. Thomas, with the same question.
Yeah, first, let me give a shout out to Paula. She is an outstanding partner in finding talent, expertise through this NSIN network. The network provides much more than you get from your common open topic solicitations for students and other kind of postdoc programs. And, they make it a very low barrier for you to take advantage of the program. I mean, you just have to have the idea and they help you with all of the rest, paperwork, getting people onboarded. So, that's very useful as a scientist in the lab. You're not going to spend a lot of time with paperwork for these programs. They are going to help you with everything but the research topic in the time you invest in engaging with experts, faculty, students, all of the things they provide.
Thanks so much, Dr. Thomas. I should add in there too, you're pretty fantastic to work with yourself. And I think everyone in NSIN at this point, whenever they're like, I say, hey, Dr. Thomas has an idea, they're like, yes, let's go. It's always a good one. So
programs like this bring us together. And I got to say, from my perspective and learning more about this journey, you're both fantastic. Both critical parts of this from both the NSIN, AFRL connections, everything here to make it happen. And I want to thank you both for meeting with me today to discuss this further and give our listeners an idea of why this connection is important. And now we have a very, very clear vision as to why. So thank you both.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us on today.
Hello again, folks. Quick update at the end of the podcast. NSIN has released that they are extending the X-Force submission topics deadline to January 21st, 2022.
So make sure to get your ideas in as soon as possible. Make sure to follow us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube at AF Research Lab. And remember, stay curious.
Logging off.